Right,
And the
right.
problem with the New Age, the problem with I'll have a little bit of Buddhism and I'll have a little bit of Sufism and I'll read a bit of Foucault and I'll conjure up my own little pantheon. In fact, it was you that said it to me.
Interesting.
That if God is everything, God is anything. And I encountered that more empirically when returning to a kind of New Age festival. And I felt, what is this feeling that I'm having here, having, since coming to Christ in a New Age festival? And I've still got the other deities adorned permanently about my body as a reminder. And what it felt like is it's false idolatry. False idolatry is predicated on a polarity between the self and the idol. Christ replaces the self. Mm-hmm. You die on the cross with him. It's the self that has to go. There is
what self exactly? How do you conceptualize the self that has to go?
The Russellness, the observer, the witness, the Russellness. By default.
I'm also wondering if it's interesting what Russell's saying, because this is actually something that we were talking about just for like half an hour ago on the stream, which was this idea of, I feel like there's two ways that I've come across amassing knowledge, wisdom, and developing your practice, or like whatever you're here to do in the world, and developing the thing that is going to allow you to have the impact on the world that you want to have, if you're here to make an impact in the world. And like one thing I was talking about is that there's like two ways to develop your practice, through study and learning and knowledge acquisition. Is like you have one way, which is pick one thing and go down that road like 10,000 to 50,000 hours. Pick like one thing, one niche thing, and just like scour that narrow tunnel, right? And just go right to the very bottom. That does not appeal to me. And I think, again, because of my study with human design gene keys, I realize that different people are built differently and we all have a different way of impacting the world. And where I'm going with this is, so there's two ways. There's what I just said. There's the 10,000 hours to 50,000 hours of one thing. And the other option is you do like 2,500 hours, let's just say, or 5,000 hours or something in several things. And then what you lose in the depth, you make up for in the breadth. Because then what you're doing is, as he's talking about like this amassing this pantheon, it's like you are taking all of these, because I think in some sense, there's diminishing returns as you go deeper and deeper down a single path. Because I think you can amass a lot of wisdom and knowledge within the 2,500 to 5,000 hour mark. Now at the same time, there's the, Dunning-Kruger effect, where when you know enough about something, but not a lot, you think you're more adept at it than you really are. Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about this with Terrence Howard after the Terrence Howard Joe Rogan podcast. So that's a potential problem with the approach that I tend to take of amassing a wealth of different modalities and then creating my own modality that utilizes aspects of those other ones. I think that path is a very good path to go down. If you look at Paul Chek has done that. Yeah, I think he's one of the best that I've come across, where he's a master at studying various different disciplines. And he likely goes past 5,000 hours. He probably goes 10,000 hours into several things. But yeah, like, so he's somebody, and I think that is in human design gene keys, that's the line 3 profile, which requires change. It requires trial and error change and interaction with a lot of different things, because it builds up a wisdom reservoir of being able to learn from all of the things it's experienced. So in some sense, they say that builds wisdom, where the going down the single path, the 10,000 to 50,000 hours, builds competence and maybe like knowledge, like specific niche knowledge, but definitely competence in a specific thing. But then again, the other approach the amassing all of these different things and combining them, that also creates competence, but in a different way, because then it's up to you to know how to combine them. But if you're not adept enough at combining them, I think Russell's correct in that you don't have any mastery or expertise, knowledge in any of those fields. But yeah, I kind of like, with me, I see my path as picking 3 or 4 systems. Like, again, it's like human design, gene keys, IFS. And then I probably in the future want to get into martial arts, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and Tai Chi. Then I would have like 5 things. And so if one person does one thing for 50,000 hours, I think I would like at the end of my life to have 5 knowledge paths or practices, and then do 10,000 hours into each one, and then develop a system that incorporates all of them in a potent way, because all of them have slightly different focuses. Like Tai Chi is very physical. It's actually, Tai Chi is a very beautiful balance of the mind and the physicality, the body, because it's a physical practice, but it's also a mental practice. And then you have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is again, both mental and physical, but highly physical. And then you have human design and gene keys and IFS, which are very mental, emotional systems, especially IFS. It's extremely emotional. And then human design and gene keys are primarily mental. But then as you develop competence in the understanding the mentality of those systems and understanding how they work, they lead to emotional breakthroughs in your life. And then after you have enough emotional breakthroughs, they actually lead to physical, practical changes in your life. So all these end up leading to a physical change in your life. But again, like the way I see it, I think you can have an incredible impact by developing expertise in several different fields that harmonize with each other really well. Because again, the power of harmony, right? It's like, even in music, like harmony has power and potency. Like, especially you get like, in, some genres of music, vocal harmonies, guitar harmonies, especially if you're listening to like metal music and you have these incredible lead guitar melodies and harmonies. And then you have symphonies that are all harmonies, right? Like a symphony is, again, based on this approach of taking several different ingredients and incorporating them together, right? Instead of just like, you could have a symphony, or you could have this wouldn't even be a symphony, I don't think. But imagine if you just got 50 trombone players or 50 violin players. It wouldn't have the same impact as when you have the violins and the cellos and the guitars and the drums, like in the vocals and the choirs, right? So I think like with these things, there is a lot of incredible ways to go about achieving mastery and competence in whatever you're here to do in your life. But I absolutely get what Russell's talking about, where it's like there is a power in taking one thing and going to the very bottom of the well with it and being one of the world's leaders or the world's experts at that one thing. That does have its own potency and power. If you guys want to check out another clip from this episode, click here. And if you want to check out more clips on this topic, click here. And if you want to check out the full episode that this clip is taken from, you can click the link in the description below. And that's it. So I'll see all of you in the next one.